morning and welcome to A Million Cups. I think we've got two really good presenters today. Would like to remind people, if you want to ask a question during the Q&A, please hold the mic like this so we can make sure we record that. If you don't, we don't hear you. So also, if you had trouble parking today, I just want to remind everyone, to the west of the building in lot 47 is the main parking lot for the E-Factory. You can park in front, but the main parking lot is just to the west, and you can also enter the building from the west. You don't have to walk around. So hopefully everyone has figured that out. Okay, with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Chad Melentine and Sean Schoonover, and they are the owners of II Properties. And welcome, guys.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate the opportunity today to be able to speak in front of all of you. My name is Chad Melentine, partner of II Properties. 16 years, I was a banker. 8 years ago, I bought my first rental property. 4 years ago, my wife and I bought 4 more. We really weren't doing exactly what we wanted to in the real estate world, so I got some education, and I landed with a very good mentor who really kind of changed my philosophy on real estate at that point in time. So 2.5 years ago, I started doing his philosophy, and Sean and I had already known each other. We decided that we could do a lot more together, so 1.5 years ago, we started II Properties.
I'm Sean Schoonover. I grew up in this business. My folks even owned a brokerage in Kansas City. I've owned 4 other businesses here in Springfield, and after I sold the last one, looked for that avenue to get back into, and real estate is my passion. It was something I knew and wanted to get back into it. So you might recognize some of these signs around town. This is some of the branding that we do, some of the advertising we get to generate leads to get our business started.
So who of you in town have seen a house like this? Maybe in your neighborhood, your mom and dad's, aunts, uncles, cousins, friend's house. You've driven around town, and at some point in time, you've seen that house, and you thought, man, we need to do something with that home. That's what II Properties does. This is a home that we had at 1020 West Chase. This is the after product. We now have a homeowner in there that loves this home. Here's an example of a home on 750 South Douglas. This was actually another investor that owned this property. There was a hole in the roof in the front and the back. There was a tenant in there paying $400 a month. When it rained into the bathroom tub, which was okay because the plumbing didn't work anyways because they were tied with socks. There's the after product of it. Here's an example of what the inside looked like before we started working on it. This is now the after. We now have homeowners in there. They have home ownership. They do our lease option program. Here's an example of a home on 1758 South Fremont. It needed some TLC. This is right at the corner of Sunshine and Fremont. We turned into that beauty today. 1044 East Linwood Terrace. This is in Phelps Grove Park. We just recently finished this property. It looks completely different now. You can't even tell what it looks like. We added some square footage to the property, and this home is available. So if you know anybody that's looking for a property in Phelps Grove Park, this is on the market now. Very rarely do we flip, but this is one that we flip because cash flow just doesn't work. So what do we do? You see that we rehab houses, but really, what is our business? We have a very unique marketing strategy that finds the deals that no one else can find. And why I say that is, if I was to ask everybody the question, let's go find a home, the first thing you do is you call an agent, and then you look at the MLS. Well, that's what a lot of people do. We don't do that. About 10% of what we buy is actually off the MLS. 90% of what we buy comes direct from the seller. That makes us pretty powerful. Once we've bought the houses, we have a very good system in place that allows us to rehab quickly and financially efficient. We use the same products, the same colors, the same things over and over. It's very repetitive for us, so our contractors are very solid. Average turnaround time is about 4.5 weeks. Once we've got those houses finished, we have a team in place that fills with a qualified tenant. In some cases, they put the tenant in before the product is actually done. Their average turnaround time is about 3.5 weeks. What we want to do is when we purchase that home, and from beginning to purchase to the end, we want to have it done in 60 days. So how do we do this? Because obviously you got to have cash. You got to be able to do something to it. You can't just put them on contract or write an IOU. So we work with private money lenders. This allows us to buy cash and close fast. That's powerful when you're in front of that seller. And why I say that is because in many situations when Sean is out there negotiating the deal, the seller says, hey, I want X amount of dollars for my house, but I need it yesterday. You know, I need to move on. I've got bills to pay. I've got things I got to take care of. Maybe I got to transfer out of town. By having that cash, it allows us to close very quickly. If you do traditional financing, it's going to take 20, 30, 45 days in situations. And those people have a problem. That's why they called us. Once we've done all this, okay, and we've got that lease product that's now creating cash flow, we take those packages to local banks, and we do cash out on those. Banks love it at that point in time because we've created a great cash flow for us, and we can return our money to our investors, we can return the interest to our investors, and we now have a property that cash flows for II properties. All of these processes allow us to change Springfield one home at a time. So what's the future of II properties? Well, obviously this is our home, so we're going to continue to buy in Springfield and improve Springfield one home at a time. But we'd also like to duplicate our branch and our brand in Northwest Arkansas. It's close enough to town. We've had some people that have interest that have wanted to go down there and just use our brand and our training to go down there. But additionally, Sean and I do a lot of networking, and we've created some very good connections across the United States. And we want to take this to multiple cities. We know that we can duplicate what we're doing very, very quickly. Questions?
How you came up with the name II Properties?
Before Chad and I started, I started with Ivory Investors. My youngest daughter's name is Ivory, and starting the business, I was looking for number one, something that was .com available. Number two, I was looking for something that was memorable, marketable, and brandable. The name really probably isn't as important as the elephant. We have some other brands out there, Realty Parade. Elephant is the commonality with our stuff, and people remember that. And as these kids get a little older, that branch is going to get stronger and stronger.
I understand flipping the houses really quickly and using the different marketing strategy. Is there anything like innovative that you guys do differently to the houses that every other remodeler does to their houses?
Couple things. Flipping that you see on TV is not the reality of what really happens. Flipping is not actually, that's a small percentage of what we do. Usually a house to be on a flip has to be in that perfect category. It's a 322, it's a 4-3, it's minimum work. Most people that get into flipping, we actually run the local RIA group. And there's a lot of people that get in and do a flip and they'll do one. There's a lot of ways to make mistakes. This market is not the best market to flip in because of the profits are just not there. There's a lot of risk involved with flip. If you're not familiar with the contractors, if you're not familiar with all the pitfalls that you can fall into, it's real easy to lose your butt, so to speak.
Excuse me, why multiple names?
The Ivory Investors was the original brand that I'd started about 4 years ago. Chad and I, he was primarily wholesaling. I was primarily flipping at the time. What we quickly realized that for us, 1 and 1 equaled 5. When we first got into business, our idea was to do flips, was to do wholesales, those kind of things on a larger scale. We quickly changed our platform to where we put 60 properties in the last year on that we're holding. When you can hold a property with that cash flows crazy with absolutely no money in it, your return is infinite.
You said you have a unique lease option plan. What's unique about your lease options?
Okay. Most people are going straight rentals. One thing that we do that's a little different is if it's a single family, We try to only do lease options. It's not something we do exclusively. There's been a lot of changes in the market in the last year. The new Frank-Dodd Act has changed a lot of that. It's changed banking in general. It's back into that situation where it's tough for people to get the financing. So people that may not have been able to buy a house, they take some ownership. When we're buying these houses, we're putting somebody in there that think that they may not be able to buy a house. We will line them up with some mortgage brokers that will actually help do some credit counseling with them, so that hopefully within the next 2 years they're actually able to finish the contract and buy it. When you have people that are going in any neighborhood, if they're going into an ownership type situation, a pride of ownership, they take care of it, they do improvements, and that's really improving the neighborhoods, and it's also creating future customers for the banks as well. We've had 3 in the last year that as short as a month cashed us out to 3-4 months. So as several of these of those 60 come to that 2-year mark, we hope to see a whole lot more of those. Nothing and everything's always for sale in our inventory.
So outside of your vehicles with your branding on them, what's your marketing plan?
We do a lot of our marketing is word of mouth. Once people have done business with us, they would refer us. Another thing that's different with us, if we're not the best option, we have multiple ways to maybe do some counseling. Hey, maybe your house would be better auctioned. Maybe it would be better listing it with Realty Parade. Maybe it would be other marketing. We do everything from postcards. Realtors bring us all kinds of stuff. A lot of times realtors know that certain particular houses will not be insurable. They won't fit the criteria to get a loan on them. The only person that can buy those is an investor, and we're probably the largest that's buying in the area that's buying single families.
How far outside our local area have you expanded, and what are your plans to scale even greater?
Okay. We own houses out in Ava, up at Lake of the Ozarks. As far as single-family houses, we like to keep our immediate business in this area. We've tapped into resources or networks that are like ourselves, that we can tap in and buy properties in Kansas City, St. Louis, the Quad Cities, Arizona, Phoenix, all over the country. As far as one thing that we would also like is apartments. Well, if you get to a certain number of doors in an apartment, it doesn't matter where it is as long as it fits a certain criteria and it's big enough that you can have on-staff management. So for that fact, we buy anywhere.
Can you explain a little deeper how the benefit is for the private money lenders?
Okay. Private money, one thing that we like to do, depending on their level of involvement, how much money they're wanting to invest, whether they're saying, hey, I want to take on a particularly one project, or they wanted to give us $1 million, we can put that into an escrow account. We have an agreement that they will, first of all, we won't be leveraged over a certain percentage, which is very low. Usually 70-75% is where we try to be under, and that's fully rehabbed. Then what we do is we like to take blocks of, after we have them filled, lease optioned, we like to take blocks of 10 to 20 of these houses, take them to banks like Sterling's or some of the others in the area. They will cash us out, so the money goes back in. They're in a safe situation.
I was just curious concerning Springfield and this area and what you're doing. What is your focus area, neighborhood, to where this is kind of where you're going, where the best houses are to run your business, where you can get the best buy and get the house sold? So are you thinking Phelps Grove? Are you thinking, Southwest? What neighborhoods are you guys kind of going after?
We're a little different than most investors. We go after all of it. Most other investors will pick a sweet spot for them where they have their comfort zone. We're doing enough volume. This is not a part-time gig for us. This is what we do every day, all day long. So whether it be on the southwest side, whether it be, a lot of investors don't like the north side. We love the north side. We own a lot of stuff in the north side. Now, we don't do business typically like some other people. We're not a slumlord. We don't want to have any piece of property we have. We would be proud to have a friend, a family member live in any one of our houses. Now, it may not be the neighborhood we'd want them to live in, but the product we put out there is fantastic.
What differentiates you guys and We Buy Ugly Houses, and is franchise an opportunity for you?
We Buy Ugly Houses is a franchise. The franchise went down a few years ago during the crunch. Fred DeLuca purchased that. There is a local extension of the We Buy Uglies. Tyler is the guy that runs that. Kind of does it part-time as well. He has another job. We're still his biggest buyer. When he puts stuff under contract, he brings it to us first. We potentially could franchise. Realistically, it might slow us down kind of what's going on with this. It's not something that's out of the question, but we're open to anything and everything.
Do you guys only buy houses that need rehabbed, or do you purchase houses and then put renters in them, lease, and put them through your program?
If the house is in perfect condition, absolutely we buy it. It's not the condition that's as important as the value that we can purchase it at. Like I said, we want a perfect condition. We have very high standards. Most investors, when they go into a house, they say, oh, we can just, this carpet's fine. We can throw a little paint on the wall. I don't care if it's got old pipes. When it breaks in, we'll fix it. We have a certain level. We feel like putting the money in up front saves us money in the long run. If a house doesn't need anything, we won't do anything. If it, some of these houses, an investor will have a block of 10, 15. We'll buy the whole block from them. If there's a renter in there, we'll leave the renter in there. We're not here to displace anybody. As long as they want to continue to rent, if there's something that needs to be repaired, we'll repair it. When the person comes out of that house, and we will give them the opportunity to say, hey, would you like to own your own home? Would it be this one? Would it be another one? When they come out, that's when we'll go in and we'll reassess exactly how much needs to be done to the house, and we'll make those improvements and then put it into our program as well.
What do you do as far as management on those? Do you have a management team in place? And on the lease options, is the tenant responsible for all the maintenance and management?
We do have a management team. We added Realty Parade. They are doing the filling, the management of them. On a lease option, the tenant is responsible for, first of all, we're giving them a product that they shouldn't have problems with to begin with. But we can't see everything. We do give them a couple-week window. Hey, if you find something, let us know. We'll fix it. Ultimately, it's still our house. So when something large arises, we're going to protect our investment. We're going to take care of it, whatever it takes. Maybe if they are looking to purchase, we can put it on the back end. There's things that we can do. We don't want these to get back to a state of disrepair. One thing that we tell the tenants is we do so much rehab that we have contacts, we have discounts, we do a lot of volume. Lowe's has informed us that we're one of their largest accounts in the area. So if you have a problem, bring it to us. Either we can, we might have a discount. And what that also lets us know what's going on in these properties.
So to kind of follow up from my last question, to kind of get a more clear answer, do you guys do anything like internally to the house to change its infrastructure? I understand getting the house done in 60 days or less for a person, but to rehab the house in that time, and that's great. But do you guys do anything else to really put a different sort of, like brand out there for yourself to say, well, not only do we get these houses done quickly, but we also do this or this or this?
In like the second house that he showed up there, the tenant, we kind of nicknamed that house Pigpen. What you didn't see was all the bedrooms. The beer cans were 2 feet deep. The cockroaches in that house were preposterous. When we pulled, you opened a door, things fell on you. The floor, because of the plumbing, all the floors were rotted out. That was a house that the roof had 7 layers of shingles with shake at the bottom. I think when we took all the shingles off, the roof was 2 feet taller. That house, we completely gutted that. You know, other people might have jacked the floor. They might have just put some plywood over the top of that. We completely cut the floor out, replaced the joists, had the bug father come in, totally bomb the place, get all the termites, all that thing. We rebuilt the floor. We converted a 2-bedroom, 1-bath to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It is a brand new house. When we get done with these, they have the feel and appearance and quality of a brand new house. So we are changing. A lot of houses, if we can, if they're a 3-1, you know, typically a 3-2 is where everybody wants to be. If we can squeeze another bathroom, if we can add a bathroom. The one in Phelps Grove Park, it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. We actually had 2 living areas. We took the second living area, pushed it back, added a whole new master with walk-in closets. Beautiful house, and we're still able to sell that under value. You know, comps come in much higher. We're not in these to make a killing on every house. We're in this for the next 1,000 houses.
Yes, you mentioned a 75% equity rate or some earlier in your. Is that like with that decrepit property? You know, between the roof. There was probably about 7,000 there. The siding about removal, and then the windows and all that, and all the interior. Is that 75%? Is that the new value? Is that your goal? Is that you don't want to spend more than 75% of what the new expected value?
Correct. The after repair value is what it will appraise at when it's done. So for simple numbers, if the house, for round numbers, if it was a $100,000 value house, I may want to buy that at $40,000, $50,000. Put 30. 25,000, not be sitting. The house is going to value at 100,000, but all repairs, all money in, everything, we don't want to be sitting more than 75%. That's where our equity comes in. That's where the bank can say, hey, we'll give you 75% of appraised value. So they will do a refinance. It's a refinance because we've had private money to own it. We don't have the skin in the game because the skin in the game is our equity. It's the knowledge and the ability to do what we do that gives us the equity in the property.
My wife and I have recently become fans of the show Flip or Flop. And one thing we kind of notice is there's no actual formula in place when they go to buy these houses. They just kind of walk in there and they have an estimate. I come from an underwriting background, and I'm just curious if you guys have a more solid formula that, for profitability.
When you do this day in and day out every day, and we call it the oops factor. I haven't had a house yet that when you get into the construction, when you open the walls, when you turn the water on, that it's broken in the middle of the yard. There's not something. There's always going to be something. So that's an equation we have built into it. We have that oops factor built in. When you do these every day, you also know what things are going to cost. You walk in. And of course, the contractors come in and back it up. Have we been 100% right every time? No. But we're still setting it doesn't matter. We're still setting low enough. We'll walk away from more deals than we'll ever buy. We don't have to buy a deal. There's a lot of them out there.
Do you typically choose a general contractor that has most of the rehabilitation stuff in-house, or do you bid out each of the different projects that you need for the rehab individually?
We have a field manager that's our liaison between us and the contractors. We still are hands-on as well and dealing with the contractors. We have about 7 that we're using. Certain contractors will have a specialty that might fit a certain type of house better. Some of the big projects, it just depends what it is. We have certain projects, multiple bids, because our contractors, a lot of times, several of them are working for us only because we'll only let them have 3 to 5 houses at a time, and then we max them out. We don't want to thin them too thin, so we will try to diversify with other contractors, and we don't want them to get too comfortable. So we have multiple bids, and it's not just on the generals, but it's also on the subs. It's also on the HVAC. It's on the electrical. It's on, we have preferred because we want to make sure that the jobs are done not only effectively, timely, price, but also quality. It's a huge deal to us.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And as we always close out, what can we as a community do for you guys?
Okay. We love this format. This is great. We love the opportunity of being in front of you all. I want to thank you all for showing up. We're open to any way we can improve our business. Also, as far as scalability, get us in front of people that are looking to make a good return on their money. I mean, if they've got money in a CD, they're losing money with inflation. We can put it in a safe area, get them a good return, improve Springfield and other surrounding areas, and make a difference.
All right. Well, just real quick, we have a few announcements before we get to the next speaker. And as always, if you guys have any events, organizations, or things that we can add to the entrepreneurial community, we would encourage you to bring those events to us, and we'd love to do our best to get them out to the community. So right off the top, we have a Project Management Institute of Southwest Missouri chapter. Meets every third Thursday. The website is PMISWMO.org for the Project Management Institute Southwest Missouri. And if you have any questions, come talk to NK, if you can say hey. NK is your guy, and he's got all the answers for you. Also, we have the reinvestorgroup.com is doing a 4-year anniversary extravaganza. Part of the II property, you guys are all definitely in that group. It's 5:30 at Thursday night at 425 West Walnut, and it's $10 for a dinner buffet, and I'm sure they have a lot of more information if you have any other questions. Also, we're going to let a cool little video go on, and Keela's going to tell you more about an event that we're all excited for, especially at 1MC, called Spin 66.
Spin 66, giving the story from veteran entrepreneurs with advice on how to help your business every step of the way. Check out the pitch clip where some of the area's top local new startup companies are going to be able to pitch their companies and their technologies. Hang around for Southwest Missouri's best ever networking event for innovators and entrepreneurs. If you have a startup company, you can provide resources for startup companies, or you're a wannabe trying to get into the game, you need to be at Spin 66.
So obviously, we all need to be at Spin 66. Anyways, to find out more information, go to spin66.org. Keela is here. Cody Stringer is also here. They're more than welcome to take your questions. Great people. It's going to be a great event. I'm really looking forward to it. And without further ado, I have the honor to introduce our next presenter. He's been a really good friend of mine for a long time, and he's a local guy, award-winning game caller, and really, really good friend of mine. Corey Cribb with Falling Feathers Game Calls.
Good to see you. Thanks, buddy. All right. Cool. Great. Hey, how's it going, everyone? So, all right. Let's see here. Oh, cool. All right. Let's get this all figured out. So, my name is Corey. I own a company named Falling Feathers Game Calls. We make and sell goose, deer, turkey, predator, crow. You know, we do it all. Basically, where I got the dream for this is I was a competition waterfowl caller when I was younger for just years and years. Competed all over the United States. I had my folks behind me on it, but I had to pay for everything my own way. So, you know, our duck calls were retailing for, $160, $180, $200, and I was a kid trying to do this, and I couldn't afford it. So I had to kind of give it up just because I couldn't, I just couldn't hang with it. So I've been a guide for like 10 years. I had a pretty bad wreck. I used to race motocross, and it just kind of knocked me out. I was in a coma for 9 days, paralyzed, basically flatlined twice. I was a goner. So that's kind of where we got our, where the dream began. It was like, all right, listen, my family's done construction forever, and I was like, all right, I'm doing this. I'm doing my own thing. I'm lucky to be alive, so I might as well do what I love. And so, bam, it begins. And so we started out small, high-end custom calls, And so, like I said, we started out pretty dang small. We're going to a few local shows here and there, testing the market. We got a great response. We sold several calls, and I was working full-time jobs, still guiding, kept putting money back in the company, building. And, we started innovating different calls, this and that. And we got into, we'll just kind of get to that later, but it's steadily been building. Now we got into Bass Pro Shops. They put in big orders, big time stuff, and so we're really just kind of jumping. What's it take to make these little guys? There's quite a bit of machinery involved: CNC lathes, mills. There's just crazy the amount of machinery that goes into building a duck call is the same machinery you would take to build an M16 rifle. Kind of weird. So how can we increase our profits? It's actually just doing more work. I mean, I can sub out every aspect of making a call and have it shipped to wherever. But increase our profits, we do more work in-house. So, that's going to we're going to get into, we're at phase 1 right now. We're going to be getting into phase 2 and 3. All of our new products are going to require like a CAD CAM system. Some of you guys are familiar with that, especially when you get into molding, when you get into actually programming a call from a shape into the machine. You got to have it in the CAD. The labor cost for subbing everything out is roughly 40% of the cost of the call. And a lot of the companies like Bass Pro Shops, they're going to require a minimum of 45%. 40 to 50 points per unit is pretty average. So we've been fortunate enough to be doing enough work in-house that we're still able to get our 50% margins on it. Our phase 2 is cutting out that middleman, like I said earlier, and it's actually getting all the machinery, the CNC lathes, and the mills in-house for 100% in-house manufacturing. So that's actually raise our profit per unit, and we're becoming the middleman for other companies as well. So like right now, we don't have the actual CNC machine, but we have everything else besides that: laser engravers, everything for sanding, buffing, tuning. So we actually do a lot of work for a lot of the smaller companies around the United States right now. Another thing, part of phase 2 is branching into those foreign markets. New Zealand, Russia, like all over. There's so many different countries. Australia. This is untapped hunting market that's top notch, out of this world. Mexico, Argentina. It's just insane. That we'd really like to tap into that. So then we've got, everybody knows these guys, the old Duck Dynasty boys. And so these guys have really they've helped us out as far as marketing. We're in the Duck Dynasty movement right now. And they've mainstreamed hunting. They've made waterfowl cool, which is great for us because people are buying calls now for no reason, which is great. It's fantastic. We love it. So they just buy calls because, these guys do it. So their marketing scheme has been fantastic. They're into everything. They got floor mats, they got nail files, they got everything. But what they don't have is, the couples thing. The couples thing in the hunting outdoor industry is huge. You've got guys like Ralph and Vicky. They kind of started the couples deal. You've got John and Gina, Lee and Tiffany. So what the Duck Dynasty did, which is great with their marketing, they actually have a product to sell. So they've got a TV show, and they've got something to sell that's their own in-house, which is their duck calls. All these guys, they're great. They're huge, but they get companies like Nikon, like Matthews Bows, like Under Armour. Okay, they make a line for them, put their name on them, and they're getting royalties off of that. We're wanting to get into that, but another great thing, especially with TV marketing, is we have a product to sell in-house, so we can be basically double dipping, which is fantastic. So that's my wife right there. That's my dog. We are we're the next couples, deal for waterfowl. I got a few more pictures here. She's kind of a slayer, and the boy, she's a wild woman. But yeah. So what are we looking for? It's marketing. We could really use some help with large scale brand recognition, large scale marketing, getting out to the masses. And like I was saying earlier, we really want to get into those foreign markets. I really want to break in. Gosh, there's so many that I would just love to get into. So heck yeah, and that's us. So thank you guys for letting me come up here. Yeah. Questions? Give me something. Well, the Duck Dynasty calls it's a mass-produced. They're cheat calls. I don't even know if they actually blow their own calls. Like we're just in a different class as far as it's a high-end acrylic call. They don't really get into their high-end stuff. So I guess the main difference is quality. We've got a higher quality product than almost anyone out there, and we're offering it at an affordable price. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
What is unique about the structure of your calls, and do you have patents on them?
Well, when it comes to duck calls and patents and such, you don't necessarily have to patent this. We've got an O-ring design, which everybody else has a friction lock design, which is, I'm kind of speaking some mumbo jumbo. It doesn't really matter to a lot of people, but these are a lot smaller. They're more ergonomic. They're more responsive than a lot of other calls out there. So we had, all you have to do is change one little shape on this, and your patent is worthless. As you as a call maker, you would just take my design, you would change this radius right there, and that's all you need to make it differentiated. My patent means nothing now. And you've got a call that looks a lot like it, but I can't do anything about it. So no, they're not patented. We don't need to patent them because it's pretty cutthroat when it comes to the designs of them, But we haven't had many problems with people trying to take over what we've got. So, yeah.
Do you have a network of pro staffers across the country using your calls?
Yeah, we do. We sure do. We're from, from basically Canada all the way down to South Texas. We've just got people all over the United States blowing it up, blowing the calls, getting calls in people's hands, going to stores, shaking hands, going working events. So it's a pretty neat ordeal, yeah. And I get calls daily from people. Hey, can we be on this? Can we be on that? It's got a guy from South Dakota hit me up last night at about 10 o'clock that wants to, really be part of it too. So it's kind of neat.
You talked about your relationship with Bass Pro. Can you talk about the other company? Are we allowed to utter that name, Cabela's?
The old Cabela's?
Yeah.
So, especially, when you get to talking to the Bass Pro guys, Cabela's, you just don't want to mention that name. But like I said earlier, I'm a guide. I've been guiding for years and years, and I just got back from the Dakotas. I was up snow goose guiding and had the Cabela's buyers in camp with us. And when you get into those big stores like that, it's tough to break in there and actually get your calls in front of the buyer. Well, we had all the buyers in camp. And there's only one place to do anything. You eat there, you drink there, you do everything there. So we were kind of stuck together. And we hit it off pretty well. So they got price lists, they got calls, they got everything. And that's moving forward. And that was just, several weeks ago. So we're staying in contact daily, and it's going well. So hopefully that's, going to work out well for us. But
tell us about your sales levels for the last 12 months.
We do events and shows all over the United States. Our online sales have been well. We do really well at shows. Our online sales, like I said, they do pretty decent, but that's something that, I'm a call maker, I'm a hunting guide. So when it comes to the actual internet stuff, we could use some help with that. I feel like we're lacking a little bit because I don't know what I'm doing on a computer. I'm just not a fan. Never have been. I like mud. I don't like, whatever. But yeah. But, yeah.
Do you have an idea of how you're going to get into the foreign markets? Is that going to be you selling off your website, or looking? Are you?
That's something I don't know yet. I'm really, I'm friends with like Dave Smith, who's actually he started getting into those foreign markets with his decoys. Russia is huge for goose hunting, and he started breaking into that Russian market with his decoy line. And he's got a high-end decoy line. They're the most quality decoys in the world, $1,000 a dozen. And he's a good friend of mine, so I'm going to kind of lean on him a little bit as far as help me bust into those foreign markets and kind of figure out how to actually, get in there, talk to people who speak Russian. and stuff like that. So, and shipping and all the other currency barriers there, So, yeah, that's kind of something I'm very excited to kind of get. I just started talking with him in February. February 10th, I started talking with him about that. So it's kind of exciting. But.
Now I'm going to throw a real kink in your spin here.
Okay.
I have a business in St. Louis and down here, and I go back and forth every week.
Cool.
I was informed last week, because Mike Matheny's a good friend of mine.
Who's that?
Mike Matheny, Cardinals manager.
Cool.
That one of the Cardinals owners is the CEO of Gander Mountain, who just opened their first store in St. Louis.
Is that right?
And I was also informed that Gander Mountain sells more firearms than Bass Pro Arcabellas nationwide.
I believe it.
Which blows my mind. But when they told me, because of their locations up north with Shields, and I'm a South Dakota, North Dakota boy too, you see how many stores are up there.
Oh, yeah.
But that would be my first place, is if you can't get in with the two guys, go to the other guy.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, we're into several Shields right now. We're working on Shields Corporate as, that store, but Gander Mountain, I've been trying to figure out a way to bust into that market as well, because they're huge. They got tons of stores. Sportsman's Warehouse is also somebody we're working with right now.
Sure.
With 2 Canada stores on Sportsman's, trying to get corporate level.
You didn't mention Alaska, though. That blows my mind, brother.
Well, I'm telling you, that Alaskan deal, we have calls up in Alaska right now. We've got several duck clubs up there that guide all the CEOs of Ducks Unlimited every year that we're trying to work with those guys. We're trying to get with the national. We just got picked as far as the national Ducks Unlimited call maker. So there's 19 call makers that's going to be presenting on the national level for Ducks Unlimited, and we're one of them. So that's pretty cool to give us a lot of brand recognition, a lot of exposure, which is interesting as well. Oh, yeah.
I believe you will break into the foreign market. So when you do, what's your plan to handle the volume and to keep the quality?
Well, I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm really hoping that we can get in there, and I guess we're just going to kind of cross that bridge when we get to it. As far as, the mass production and stuff goes, once we get our CNC machines, once we're doing like full in-house production, it shouldn't be that much of a, that big of a deal. We can just keep that little machine going 24/7, and then get another one, and then get another one. And just keep everything going. My goal is to have 5 machines going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for about 9 months. So 3 months, we'll shut down 2 machines, keep the other 3 going, have somebody else running them, and I'll be guiding.
How much capital do you need for something like that?
Well, the CNC machines, they're kind of pricey. Unfortunately, that's kind of one of the deals. They're around 75, 80 grand just for the CNC lathe. The CNC mill is 25, 30 grand. We already had the laser engraver. I bought that. I put everything into this, so I've got everything that I have now is all, I own it. But there's a couple of these other pieces we need. They're pretty substantial.
We manufacture and ship and have distributors around the world, and one of the things that we run into is there are certain countries that have tariffs that are so high
right.
that it almost makes sense for us to look at other manufacturing processes in other countries that have lower tariffs to ship directly to. Have you thought about any of those things and how you're going to go about kind of overcoming some of those hurdles? I'd love to hear your ideas.
Well, those, I've been talking with my buddy John Paul Morris and just about the, the China and doing stuff like that, doing things over there because they've got a pretty solid network of, stuff that they've got going on over there. And, I'm really torn between that, because you look on these packages right here and, they say made in the USA, and that's kind of one of the things that we kind of strive towards. We'd like to keep in the USA. I'm not opposed to going to China. I'm not opposed to going anywhere else at the end of the day for the mighty dollar. But, I'd like to keep in the U.S. if possible. And if that means, getting the injection mold and buying an actual injector, I'm fine with that. $7 grand, and I'll inject all my own stuff in-house. Yeah, you betcha. That'd be great, and I can keep it made in America. That's what I would prefer to do. But am I opposed at the end of the day? Not really. Not at this point, but I'd rather kind of lean more towards American-made product if we can.
Are your competitors all American-made products?
No. Most of them are not. Most of them are kind of, that's why not too many people have that made in the USA, and that's why we do very well with that right there. Because we really kind of push that. We build on that. and people dig that. So it's neat.
How much does it cost? How much does it cost to produce one of these?
Excuse me, sorry about the hoarse throat, man. I just got the blizzard in South Dakota the other day got me. So on the pour molded call, you talk about injection molds. This is actually it's a denser plastic. It's got the aesthetics of an acrylic. It's got the sound of an acrylic, a machined acrylic. But it's we can actually pour it into a mold. Cost on that's going to be about $10, about $1.12 in packaging. Reeds are going to be about 30 cents. So you're looking at, like, we're going to say $13 packaged out. With this call, it's going to retail for like $50. So then you get a call like this, which is a full acrylic. Sorry, full acrylic though. So the machining costs on this alone are going to be about $16. Then you've got your reeds, so you're going to add extra $2 for packaging and reeds, and then material. The actual material is you're looking at about $6 just in the material for the one call, with a cool zebra pattern like that. So, but heck yeah.
I was just thinking that you mentioned earlier about people buying duck calls that don't even hunt, or just wanting it. Yeah, it seems like to me that could be for a niche market, that you might be able to market that to people that are looking for unique gifts. And what specific comes to mind is perhaps you could diversify and have different materials, such as it seems like there's a big trend with bamboo, that like a renewable resource type thing,
Sure.
But also just different things that you might be able to add to make it unique to where that's the only one like it for that person. So if they want to pay $1,000 for a duck call,
Oh, you bet.
then
So
I'll make one.
That's kind of the
that
neat
type
thing about the laser engraver, is because we do a lot of custom stuff for people. We do a lot of stuff for big, larger businesses that want to have like, a 50 call, 100 call order for all their employees. We'll put their logo on it. Or we get a custom guy like yourself, you'll get your name put in it or a message. You can open it up and have something else cool inside of it. You get pictures on there. So it's kind of cool to do a custom side of it like that. And we do well marketing that. But kind of a cool little story I wanted to tell you guys earlier. I was down in Conway, Arkansas in August last year, and, I know all those Duck Commander boys. I know about everybody. We just worked shows together all over the place. So we're down there. Cy was sitting 2 booths down from me with Godwin, and they sold the fire out of the Cy cups and the Hey Jack t-shirts. Not many calls. We sold out of calls in 3 hours and had all of our guys go over there. And I didn't tell them to do this or anything, but they all went over there and had Cy sign our calls and got a picture with them, which was pretty dang cool, I thought. I thought it was kind of neat. But heck yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Where are you based? Do you have an actual plant, and how many employees do you have?
So I've got, I'm out at Springfield, Missouri, right here, just north by over at Drury College. I've got really 2 employees. I've got my wife and my dog. The dog is not much. It's hard to get something out of him. He sleeps a lot, but he helps us sell a lot of hunts, so that's good, But yeah, so really just 2 of us are at it right now. But Bass Pro's just now starting to process their orders and stuff, so we're going to be amping up quite a bit. We're going to have to probably hire on here pretty soon, especially if we get Cabela's as well and Shields. If we can get that corporate, we'll be really just go. It'll be going very, very quick. We get the CNC machine, we're going to have to, because we're, the plan is to be doing stuff for ourselves to raise our margins per unit, as well as doing work for other folks. That's why I want that machine to always be running. I want someone to be operating that all the time. So it's just making us money. So, yeah.
How many duck calls does one CNC machine make in a day?
Well, you kind of do them in batches. So, like in a day, you're going to do barrels. So you're going to do just like, this is the barrel of it. You're going to do this one day. So you're just going to sit there, and every minute and 35 seconds, a barrel's going to pop out. And then the next day, you're going to do inserts. So every minute and 40 seconds, an insert's going to pop out. And then you're going to switch over to a different call, like a goose call. You're going to switch over to a speckle belly call. So then so when you get done with the barrel and the inserts are going, you're going to be sanding, buffing, polishing, laser engraving those barrels. While you're switch over to the next thing, whatever was popped out yesterday, you finish today. So like you do them in batches. So you can do, in a day and a half, you do whatever, a couple hundred duck calls. So yeah, or goose calls or whatever parts you're making. So there's 3 parts in the duck call. So yeah.
you have online retail set up yet?
We do, yeah. Yep, fallingfeathersgc.com. That's our website now. We sell stuff off of it. As far as like there's a lot of stuff that I'm kind of ignorant to, I guess you'd say, just because, you know, the Google searches to get you at the top of the deal and all that. You know, I'm just a little lost when it comes to all that. So I think it could be a lot better. My wife, and really my wife more than me, made the website, and we're both not really computer people. I mean, she does pretty decent with it, but it's, you know, we built it ourselves, so it's, you know, it's okay.
You bought the laser engraver to offer custom engraving. What's turnaround on a custom order?
Oh, I mean, it's same day. I mean, if you call me, you're like, yeah, listen, you know, I want my name in it, I want a message, I want something in it. I can do it for you, no problem. We really bought it. I mean, you have to, on all acrylic calls, the pour molded calls are really cool because I engraved the initial one and then molded it, and everything you do in it is already done. So the laser engraving is already done in the pour molded call. But on a machine call and an acrylic, you have to laser engrave everything. Then you got to color it and you got to buff it. And this costs money to have done. This costs money to have done. And then to have somebody paint it and then somebody buff it, it costs money. So I was like, well, that's just money, you know, out of my pocket I could be making, and I do that for other people now, and I do a lot of stuff for them. So laser engraver is great little tool.
Yeah, Corey, I just looked for CNC lathes on eBay, and there's 12,447 entries starting at $5,000 to $40,000.
Yeah, exactly.
So you might want to check that out.
Well, I have checked it, and that's something like, you know, when you go ahead and drop, let's say you're going to drop $15,000 on something on a CNC machine, you know, you get like a Hitachi or something. It's a, you know, it's a brand name, but it's actually 8 years old or 10 years old because it was $120,000 and you can get it for 10.
Right.
So that's great. How many parts did it actually produce? How much shelf life do you have left in that little bad boy? If you spend $10,000 on a used machine to get a deal on it, and in 2 weeks it goes down, and there's nobody to fix a 10-year-old machine, I'm out.
Yeah, I suppose that's buyer beware and ask a lot of the right questions. And what was it making, and how many impressions does it have on it?
Exactly.
But more than that, the question that I have is, I'd like for you to tell us about your dog. And because he's got a broad head,
he does,
and that's the mark of a thoroughbred lab.
Oh yeah.
And do you intend to breed dogs, and how does that fit into your guide service and your company and so forth? Because I think that's a pretty strong feature.
Oh, it really is. It really is. And I wanted to have Chelsea we were doing this thing. I wanted to put up. I just got another little dog as well. Her name's Annie, the little black lab. She's a full blood too as well. I got her from Nebraska. Eli's from Minnesota, right on the border of Canada. And so heck yeah, we take people out hunting all over the place. They all want dogs. A lot of these dog breeders will get these little tiny 60-pound labs. You know, I like a 100-pound lab with a head about the size of a 5-gallon bucket. That's how my dog is. You know, he jumps 21 feet straight off a dock. No joke. He's a prospect next Guinness World Book record setter when it comes to long jump. He knows him. He's a stud, you know. So yeah, he's a really cool dude, and yeah, we're getting into dog breeding as well, and it's kind of like our calls. We're doing a high-end dog breeding. We're not going to sell a dog for $400 or $500. We're going to be selling a dog for $2,500 to $3,000. Trained will be $5,000 or more. So it's kind of a cool deal, and I dabble with training a little bit. What you got?
Yeah, Corey, I see you've got like 5 or 6 different calls over there.
Yes, sir.
How many different types of calls do you do right now, and do you have a game plan to amp that up to another number?
Yes, sir, we do. You know, when we get the in-house machine, we'll be able to design and produce more calls. It's so costly right now for me to have it subbed out. Every time we change one little thing, one radius on a call, it costs money to have that design and put into a CAD format, and then they do a tester part, get it to me, I yay or nay it, get it back to them, tell them to change this, change that. So yes, we have I think got like 7 or 8 different calls out right now. And then, you know, one of the barriers and hurdles that you have to overcome, especially when you work with a company like Bass Pro Shops, who are doing SKUs and stuff, is, you know, a SKU, everything is a barcode. So every time you change color, you put a black and a clear, or an all black, or a white, or a green. That's a different SKU number, so you have to buy that. You have to keep track of it. You got to label it correctly. Single read, double read. You just got everything's a different SKU, so you got to buy a ton of those. You have to look at. So if you come out with one new call, but you're going to do 10 colors, and then you can switch a barrel and an insert on it. You actually got 20 new. It's just interesting.
So follow up with that. Where does all the forms for the different types of call, the different layouts of what the calls look like?
Where are they?
Where do they come from?
Well, I've actually got a designer. He's out of Memphis, Tennessee. That's all he does is he designs CAD for me. So, and he's a good friend of mine, and we do a lot of trading off. You know, he loves to kill ducks. So I take him duck hunting twice a year, and he does all my stuff for free right now, which is great. And we're trying to bring him under the fold to where, you know, he's going to actually teach me how to run all the equipment because that's all he does. And he's like, dude, you take me hunting for a week? I'll come up for a month, and I'll teach you how to run that machine. I'm like, all right, you know, sweet. So the 1.5 year long learning curve is going to be popped down to a month. So it'll be great. I'm very excited about it. Heck yeah.
Well, Corey, we appreciate it. We got one more question for you. Again, as a community, what can we do for you?
Yeah, so helping me out with those foreign markets, helping me out with that marketing, that brand recognition would be huge. You know, I could really use a helping hand with that, as well as, you know, possible some capital for these new machines. You know, so I'd love to talk about it. It'd be great. It'd be super great. But thank you very much for everything.
Awesome. And before you go, can you give us a real quick demo of the award-winning call?
Yeah, sure. So you guys want duck or goose? Both. Both. All right, cool. All right, so what do you do first? Canadian right there, buddy. All right, so here's our little mouth call.